And go.
Belt Sander 101. This machine is elemental. It's simple. This is actually a washing machine motor that Ickler bearing has converted into a belt sander machine. So how this thing works, there's a drum on front with a rubberized wheel or a vulcanized rubber wheel on here, and that's the side that you sand on, this side. You can also sand on the flat surface up here, but you wouldn't sand back here on this hard disc or necessarily in the gaps in between here. It's spring loaded, so if I pull this up, I can slide the belt off or on. That's how you service it, take the belt off and on. And it's got a little tracking device right here that keeps the belt centered in the middle. We take care of centering the belt, so when it's running, the belt stays on. I can turn this on and adjust these two set screws, and you can see the belt move back and forth. So right about there is good. Actually, right about there is good. Okay, tighten those both up. On-off switch for this is simply a toggle switch right here. You need to know that for safety reasons. This is a 1/3 horsepower electric motor. It's not that strong. Once it comes up to speed, it has a good amount of power behind it, but if I hold my hand right here and turn it on, I can stall out the electric motor, okay? So it's not a ton of force, but once it gets spinning, it has a good ability to do some work. What do we use this for? Chamfering and radiusing edges primarily, cleaning up raw edges. So for example, if we have that plasma cut edge and we want to clean it up, we can do that on the belt sander. If we've got a sheared edge on sheet metal, or if we've got a cut edge on tubing and we want to clear up that edge or knock it down a little bit so it's not so sharp, this is our tool. We always want to sand on the downstroke side. That's probably the #1 rule. And that means the belt's spinning this way. We want to sand so that the material is being pulled away from us, not so that we would push an edge up into it like this. If an edge catches, it'll kick the material back at us, and it can usually cut or gouge the blade, or cut or gouge the belt, which is bad, and it wrecks the belt, and you could get hurt by the material kicking back into you. So in this case, I'm just going to bevel this edge right here. Working on the downstroke side. The material's about at a 45-degree angle, so these two angles are about 45 degrees to the belt. I can go one at about 30 that way, then at about 60, and I can see that I've got a nice chamfered edge there. Much softer, better. Corners, same thing. If I want to round or radius this corner, right now I've got a very sharp corner there. So I'm going to start on the downstroke side. And I can round that over, match that on all the corners and radius that. You can see, if you can see up close, I've still got some burrs right there that need to be cleaned up on either side. So I'll just take those and lightly clean up those burrs as well.
How much do the belts cost?
Belts are about $6 a piece, and we have different grits. This is an example of somebody who caught an edge because they faced material up into it and split the belt. So we keep that around as an example. And it happens occasionally. We want to minimize it. Most of our belts are 60 or 80 grit. On the back side here, you can see that this is a 120 grit belt. And if we flip it over, it's a green, fairly smooth belt. This is a 60 grit belt, and it's pretty coarse. It takes a lot of material away. Coarser belts are actually cheaper, so we buy fairly coarse belts. What else do we need to know about the belt sander?
I think that's good.
Pinch points would be obviously here. You wouldn't want to get your hands over here. Loose clothing should be tucked away. Hair, jewelry, etc. Nothing would want to get caught up in here, okay? So you want to keep these back. Do wear gloves, but don't sand our gloves down. So if you are sanding, one of the first things people will do is they'll catch leather or whatever and they'll cut all the Kevlar stitching away and the gloves come apart. So don't sand the gloves, but you should wear gloves and safety glasses while you are operating these. Scene.